Kirby 64 is a game that I have so many memories of when I was a kid. Now, growing up, I had the Nintendo Wii, and because of that, I had a plethora of great virtual console games. With the one console that really caught my eye was the N64, because the style and everything just feels very weird compared to the games I have on the Nintendo Wii and such. Plus, this was also the console that really showed us what Nintendo games could do in full 3D. Franchises jumping to 3D was basically the trend at the day, but with Kirby, he mostly stayed consistent when he got his N64 game. So even though that they gave Kirby 3D graphics, he's still going down a 2D side-scrolling play.
Muffin is a tabby, Buddy is a retriever, and Kirby is, well, Kirby is just Kirby.
Kirby's back with amazing new attack combinations in Kirby 64. Rated E.
Now, out of all the Kirby games, this is one of the few that I replay a lot every year, as I own multiple versions of this game, but for this video, I decided to record this with an actual N64 console. But if you're very curious on this game, then I recommend trying it out, as you can get it on the NSO app. So now you get to experience Kirby setting himself on fire. But with everything out of the way, let's get started. So the game starts in this far-off planet called Ripple Star, home to a bunch of little fairies. However, one day, the evil dark matter returns where it takes over the entire planet, with this little girl named Ribbon escaping with this giant crystal in hand. She tries to avoid dark matter, but only gets attacked by her in space, where she lands directly into planet Popstar, with the giant crystal shattering all across the cosmos. But luckily she landed safely, as she only landed on a Kirby, who immediately decides to help her out on her quest to save her planet. As they traverse through the entirety of Dreamland trying to collect all the crystals, as well as save their friends from being possessed by dark matter. And I've got to say, I kind of find it funny how King Dedede has the worst luck imaginable, because this is literally the third time he gets possessed by dark matter. But yeah, you eventually save all your friends, and they come along with you on their big journey. And while you're going on the adventure, you do find yourself with these really cute moments. Like during the desert section, Kirby is getting very tired of walking through the desert as he nearly collapsed from exhaustion. And so they decide to take a little break and set up a small little picnic with everyone enjoying food. However, when it's time to head to the next planet, Kirby didn't get the memo, so King Dedede just drags him into the portal, which honestly gave me a chuckle. Doubly so with this section where everyone's just chilling out on the beach and throwing rocks, which honestly I could relate because I've done this all the time when I was a kid. But yeah, so Kirby is trying to wind things up for one big throw, but only gets washed away by this giant tidal wave. And man, the character's expression in these cutscenes are really well done for an N64 game. I especially love it when Kirby makes this expression. Like, this face never gets old to me. Even though that there isn't a lot of cutscenes in this game, the ones that they do have are very charming and memorable. Which, honestly, for a Kirby game, fits spectacularly well. But anyway, so for the gameplay. So as I mentioned earlier, Kirby 64 is a 2.5D game. As the gameplay itself is a 2D side-scroller, but it takes advantage of its 3D environments, but at its core, it's basically as Kirby as you get, as you can run, jump, flutter, and hail, copy abilities and such, all of the things you're familiar with Kirby at this point. With the two games that this game directly is based off of are easily Kirby's Dream Land 2 and 3. I mean hell, this is the third time where dark matter tries to attack Dreamland. However, this time, he plans to try and conquer the entire cosmos. So now instead of the worlds being a different place of Popstar, the worlds are completely different planets that Kirby needs to explore. And I like how every single level in this game tries to be very distinct from one another. Like in Planet Popstar, the very first level is the most traditional Kirby level you can think of, as you face off with a giant Waddle-Doo. And then you head to level 2, where you're immediately going through this autumn forest with very beautiful visuals, as you explore the treetops, with even Waddle-Dee helping you a long way with the journey. And this one ends things off with you fighting a possessed Adeline, who, out of rage, decided to face on Kirby head-on with a very mixed results. Sorry about that. But yeah, Kirby's friends are not only just there for the background, because they actually do help you within the levels. Like throughout the game, you'll find yourself in a small little vehicle section with Waddle-Dee, like going down this river, or even pulling out a minecart Donkey Kong Country style as you go through the caves. Adeline, while not being very good with offensive stuff, she does help Kirby by giving him items or helping him with secrets. And then there are some sections where you get to outright play as King Dedede, as his areas are the most platformer heavy, as you need to use his hammers to build your way through a path. I kinda wish there were a bit more of these sections, but for what they're pretty fun. Even though that these aren't the most challenging sections in the world, which isn't really that surprising because again, Kirby is not really that much of a challenging franchise. However, despite that, when you're playing through this game, I still recommend trying to take your time, because if you just really just rush things out and like constantly use the fire jump and stuff, you're definitely going to get hit and die a lot in this game. Which honestly is a challenge I really do like, because even though this game is still very easy, it does give you a bit of a penalty for being too reckless going through. However, the real challenge of Kirby 64 is when we get to the main collectibles of this game. As throughout the levels, there are about 3 crystal shards in each of them, and they were very devilishly hidden. Especially the ones where you need to solve a small little puzzle to even find one of these. But I will say, trying to actually hunt down these shards is probably the most fun I had with this game, which is honestly a really good thing, because when it comes to a 2D platformer, I'd say collectibles like these are a very good way to spice things up. It's a similar reason why the new Super Mario Bros. Games never really bored me too much, because actually hunting down the star coins was very enjoyable to do so. But as you try to collect all the crystals, some of them you might notice are being blocked off by this special little rock thing. That is because throughout the game there are some crystals where you need to have exclusive copy abilities to gather them. And this is when Kirby 64's big gameplay gimmick comes into play, as Kirby can actually combine 2 copy abilities into one to bring out a very unique power-up. Like for example, if you have a fire copy ability and you combine it with bomb, Kirby is able to do the small little fireworks ability. Doubly so if you combine cutter and needle, as you get this hilariously weird monstrosity. Like, I'm not kidding, some of these copy abilities messes with Kirby's anatomy entirely. Like, the cutter ability literally slices Kirby in half as a boomerang, which is very weird looking. And then there's the weird abilities, like Freezing Spark, which basically turns Kirby into a small little fridge that basically allows you to spawn infinite health. There's also this one that basically combines Fire and Ice, which... do I really need to say it? And then there's the ones that really makes me laugh, like this one where it's like, Kirby just straight up light himself on fire. There's so many weird abilities to try and experiment with. Some of them are a bit of a duds, like Fire Needle. I mean, come on, you're shooting out a fiery bow and arrow. This could have been a lot more cooler than this. But some of them are definitely really cool to try out, like freaking Spark Cutter, where Kirby literally becomes a Star Wars character wielding out the lightsaber. But yeah, you use all these abilities to your advantage, as well as try to solve certain puzzles. They sometimes do go a bit overboard with some of these criterias. Like in level 4 on Needle Star, where one of the shards requires you to have Bomb Rock, which is an ability that you can't get within the level, so you need to go to a different area to get it. But luckily, once you actually get the item, you can just simply quit out of it. It's that fast. But the problem is that with this one specific level, you need to keep this ability throughout the entirety of the run, because the Crystal Star is at the near end of the level. But keep in mind, this is the only actual time where a Crystal Shard criteria actually annoys you. But besides that, it is smooth sailing throughout. Even the boss fight in this game picks up a really good difficulty curve. And I like how all of them take advantage of the 3D environments. Like with some of them, you're pretty much wrapped around the areas with the main villain being in the center point. There are some that pretty much attacks you in the foreground and background, like this cool little lava creature. And then in World 5, you're fighting a giant killer robot. A giant killer robot, and you can wield out a freaking lightsaber like you're in a Kirby Star Wars crossover or something. Now, as for the presentation, for a very late N64 title, Kirby 64 looks very nice for the system. Most of the time with N64 games, it ends up being very dated looking, especially when you compare it to modern entries. But since the world of Kirby is very simple and cute looking, the N64 models and everything works surprisingly very well. Like, everything is like this small little 3D diorama in a way. And all of the characters in this game is filled with very charming animations, especially with the bosses. I especially find it funny with King Dedede's boss fight the most because, considering the fact of Kirby being an overly cutesy series, there's just something very funny of King Dedede's stomach opening up and trying to eat Kirby. I know this was a thing with the other Dreamland games, but seeing this in full 3D is just kind of wild. And I also have to bring up this popular fact about Kirby 64. So in World 5 of this game, you're going through this snowy planet called Shiver Star. On surface levels, it seems like a very traditional snow world. But as you go deeper into this world, the more you realize that this area is actually a frozen post-apocalyptic Earth. As Kirby literally traverses through abandoned malls in this game, and the deeper he goes into this mysterious facility with small little creatures in test tubes. Like, I swear to God, out of any other Nintendo series, Kirby is the one that makes me ponder the most, with the second probably be Pikmin with frickin' Louie. But on a much more positive note, the soundtrack of this game is also very top-notch. It's basically the high standards you expect out of a Kirby game. I especially love the N64 instruments that they used in this game. as they truly were able to make something very magical out of it. I especially love the boss music in this game as it's super goddamn catchy. And eventually, once you head straight into Ripple Star, you're able to fight off with the final boss, which is called Miracle Matter. And this guy is definitely the hardest boss in this game, as during this battle, you cannot use any of Kirby's combo abilities, and all you can use is his inhale, as the only way to actually attack him is when he transforms into certain elements. Like when he transforms into this giant ice cube, the only thing that can attack him is the ice shards. Honestly, when I was little, I always hated this boss fight because it was brutally hard, but now growing up, I honestly think this is probably my favorite one in the game, just because of how really well challenged this guy is. And when it's all said and done, Kirby has saved Ripple Star, as Darkmar then retreats into the far cosmos with Kirby saying goodbye to Ribbon, as a special spaceship then arrives to take the people of Dreamland into their home planet, with Kirby, King Dedede, Waldy, and Adeline saying good old farewell, concluding Kirby... Alright, I'm just kidding, this is not the end. As if you go through the whole game casually by not getting any of the crystal shards, you'll get a different ending where it's basically the bad end, as you can't fight the true final boss unless you collect every single shard piece in this game, which, honestly considering the fact that there ain't that much levels in this game, I'd say it's not really going to take too much of your time. But yeah, you collect all the crystal shards and do the final boss once more, and now a new cutscene plays where most of dark matter then gets expelled out of Ripple Star and then blows up into the skies. And I only say mostly because it turns out that the remains of dark matter has been possessing the Queen this entire time, with the crystal literally vaporizing dark matter out of the Queen, as it then retreats into the sky, engulfing the entirety into black. And so, with nowhere left to run, Kirby then calls his Warp Star to fly up to finish dark matter once and for all. And this is the true final boss, 02. Now with this area, it's basically a small little space shooter as you need to dodge so many projectiles. And while you do so, you need to aim the crystal into the monster's eye. Rinse and repeat this a few times and eventually he'll go down. Honestly, even though this isn't as hard as Miracle Matter, I honestly think this is a perfect way to end this game, especially since you're going through the 100% completion. But yeah, 02 is finally down and the remaining of dark matter has officially been vanquished. The heroes of Dreamland get a special reward from the Queen, with Kirby getting a little butterfly in the stomach before fumbling down the stairs, concluding Kirby 64. And overall, still a pretty good time. Even though I don't feel like this is the most complicated 2D platformer in the world, I feel like this game makes up for it by having a really big heart, and it fills that thing up with pride. From the very simple and cutesy world of Kirby 64 to the very weird and very fun copy abilities, to the very adorable cutscenes you will see throughout this game, this is honestly one of the most charming Kirby games in this series for me, and I'm very proud to still play this game after so many years. If you're very curious of Kirby 64, I highly recommend it. It's still a bit dated compared to the much more modern 2D Kirby games, especially since this game is very short as well. I feel like you're going to beat this in an afternoon probably. But for what it is, it's still a perfectly fun little game to play. But as for the next video, so since we're at the near end of the year, I want to do one big recap of all the games I've played during 2024. And then after that, I think I'm very ready to go back into replaying through Mario Kart 7 again. That is a video that is way past overdue. I almost finished making that video, but my laptop had the gall to die on me like that and lost all my assets for all my videos, so... But since I'm finished remaking all my stuff from scratch again, I think I'm very ready to go through Mario Kart 7 once more. So expect that at the near end of this year. But that'll do for today, so thank you for watching and I'll see you later. Bye-bye!